I had this experience a while ago, and I'd like to share the experience with you. And there is something I believe that the Lord is going to use from that experience to teach you about discernment. I was going to check on a friend, and since I was a bit early for the appointment, um, um, on the road towards his home, there was a church there that had a program, and there was an overflow because the program was really jam packed with people. And I decided to spend some few minutes there while catching up with the appointment with my friend. And as I stood in the overflow, gazing at this young guy who was prophesying on people, and he was very, very accurate, picking information around people. As I gazed up at him for a while, my eyes popped open in the spirit, and I literally saw like there was a serpent beside his head, and the serpent was peering into the crowd. So as this young man will turn and prophesy on people, the serpent would turn towards that direction. And I was a bit perplexed by that experience, and I began asking the Lord, what was that all about? I knew that I was discerning something, but I could not really draw conclusions about what I was seeing because of the intricacies of discernment. Now I want us to read a verse in Hebrews chapter 5, verse 14. It says, but solid food belongs to those who are of full age, that is, those who by reason of use have their senses exercised to discern both good and evil. Now, I had two possibilities in my mind, two possibilities, and I was asking the Lord, under which category this guy will fall in, because there are two kinds of false prophet. The first kind of false prophet is what we call the full-blown false prophets, right? Now, these are false prophets who have a history to have taken powers from dark realms. Does that make sense? Yes, I've had like 5 encounters with full-blown false prophets, and had this experience where one came into my office and the power of God hit the guy so hard, and he began barking like a dog. So I've had several experiences, and I'm going to share about those experiences, in subsequent videos. But I was perplexed between these two options. Was this guy a full-blown false prophet, or was he a pseudo prophet? Now, the second type of false prophet that we have in our prophetic jargon is what we call pseudo prophet. Now, a pseudo prophet is someone who has a legitimate prophetic gift from the Lord, but because of a lingering attitude that has not been dealt with, right? A familiar spirit comes over time and begins to cohabit with the flow of the gift, right? So I had these two possibilities in my mind. I was like, Lord, is he a full-blown false prophet, or is he a pseudo prophet? And the Lord didn't answer. I didn't get any response from the Lord as I was pondering and asking these questions. And I said, okay, let me just wait for a while and just kind of discern what's going to happen, if it was, what's going to transpire. And as I stood there listening to the guy, he shared an experience that he had. He said, the night prior to this day, he had an experience where he was taken over the city in the spirit, and he overheard demonic spirit conspiring, to inflict believers in that city with a sickness. Yes, I understand that the demonic spirit can plan. They could have stratagems about inflicting believers. But this is what he said, that just got me understanding that he was a pseudo prophet, and just based on what I could discern in the atmosphere. He said those that will come and insure themselves with $20 will actually cover themselves and their family from that affliction. And that's where I understood that there was something quite unhealthy about this prophetic God. Now, one of the things that I want to say about discernment is that discernment is full of so many intricacies that you can't just conclude just by observing things if somebody is actually a full-blown false prophet or a pseudo prophet. And this is something that the church will have to be trained on, because we live in an era, especially in Africa, where there's a very, very trending civilization of false prophets, where the church, for the most part, has not been equipped to be able to move in the prophetic and top levels of discerning, right? So there is a need for prophetic schools to rise up in Africa that will equip the church and educate the church in all the dynamics and mechanics of the prophetic, so that the church can be able to discern and to also embrace her prophetic heritage.